This is the Change Your City podcast. I'm Michael O'Neill, and we're talking with leaders from around the world who are making a difference in the global cities of the world. Welcome to another episode of the Change Your City podcast. We are actually live here in Richmond Park in London. This is amazing, on location today, and so we're excited to be here with all the red deer in our background. But this is a podcast about talking to difference-making leaders from around the world who are really changing their cities. And while we're in London, actually, we're talking with Evan McRae from Bristol, England. He came over today to spend the afternoon with us. Evan came from, and his family came from our church and now serve in Bristol. And so, Evan, so glad you came and joined us today. And I want you to share with everybody just a little bit about your family and about the work you've done in the past. What led you to, I guess, to this point being in Bristol?
Yeah, so my wife and I, my wife's name is Roseanne, as many of you know, and we have 4 children. And Elizabeth's 8, William is 7, Jane is 4, and Edmund is just about to turn 2 next week. And yeah, we launched from FBC Coming about a year and a half ago. We had been missionaries 10 years before that. We did work in India, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Prague, and the majority of the work, about 5 years, in the United Kingdom. And so the Lord had us go home during COVID, where I worked for the North American Mission Board for Send Relief in Alpharetta. That's when we started coming to FBC and loved it there. But he wasn't done with us, and he wasn't done with us being in the UK. And so really laid it on our heart, and various doors opened up, and we became an FBC partner, getting sent out by the church, and came to Bristol.
Yeah. I visited Bristol last year and was amazed at the work that God is doing there through the university students. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Bristol, what your role is with the university ministry there, who you work with there.
Yeah. So my mission organization is an organization called Greater Europe Mission, and they focus primarily about growing Christ's church on the continent and also in the UK. And so, but I also I'm basically seconded to UCCF, which stands for Universities and Colleges Christian Fellowship, which is basically like the InterVarsity or BCM of the United Kingdom. And so what I do is there's 2 main universities in Bristol, which is actually quite unique for the city because it's 2 very large universities. The University of Bristol is about 30,000 students, and the University West of England, also called UWE, is 40,000 students. And so what I do is I work with their Christian unions, each of varying sizes, to basically see that the gospel is been basically offered to everybody on campus, and they have an opportunity to respond to it. So it's about mobilizing students to live on mission on their campuses, in their dormitories, and hopefully to affect change to the wider city at large.
Yeah, and being there, what, a year and a half, right?
Year and a half.
Yeah. Yep. What have you noticed about the spiritual climate there in Bristol, in the city itself, but also, I guess, more specifically among the universities there?
Yeah, I mean, Bristol is like a culture in itself. In fact, I was speaking to the vice dean of the cathedral, and he made an interesting comment that had a very certain kind of worldview attached to it. And he goes, "Well, that's very Bristol, isn't it? It's the 3rd most secular city in the United Kingdom." So, it's a very kind of open and liberal city. There's not a whole lot of church planting that takes place there, but the church planters that have come are very strong. I'm a part of a church plant there. And so really what we're wanting to do, it's very internationally focused as well. Lots of refugees come there, but then also at both universities, about 30% of their population is international.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's 190 countries worldwide, and 160 have representation at the university.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So access to the world.
Access to the world.
Yeah. How do you see, what are a few ways you see God working in the ministry there in Bristol?
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw a friend of mine get baptized. Shimba was his name. You met him when you came. He's originally from Cambridge. He was a student. He got basically a year ago. He was an atheist, and he got invited to a Christian Union event that was where the gospel was shared. He didn't walk away changed. He maybe kind of had an apathy towards it, maybe not a hatred as originally, but then an apathy. And yet the Lord started like working on him and drawing him, and through the community that he experienced with some of the people in the Christian Union, he and I started reading through Gospel of Mark, and it only really took to chapter 2. And he sent me a message, a great message that said that he was ready to call himself Christian.
Wow.
And he was recently baptized, and right now he's talking about potentially going and working with one of our church partners in West Virginia to try to discern a potential calling into ministry.
Wow, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Wow. You don't think about that being the next step for maybe a new Christian.
Yeah, no.
But that's great.
No,
yeah. Is that through a connection that you have, or he knows somebody in the States? Or?
I think, one of the best things about that going through this process of raising support is we've really, like obviously FBC, we were sent out. We have a great partnership with FBC, but we also have partnerships with several other churches. And this particular church, the pastor came and did he did a Bible training for us last year, and Shimba got to know him, and they really hit it off. And he's now finished his dissertation, and he's willing to kind of take on a potential ministry trainee. And Shimba just graduated with not much to do, and so he's willing to kind of take up the mantle. So,
yeah, I think about just the way God works through His Word, but also you mentioned the need for, as you're raising support, the need for healthy partnerships.
Yeah.
What does a healthy partnership mean to you all? And how does that encourage? Because Paul talks about this with, for example, writing to the Christians in Rome. He's saying, we're mutually encouraged by each other's faith.
Yeah.
And if Paul needed encouragement,
exactly. Yeah.
then so do missionaries and Christian workers like you. And honestly, if the Christians in Rome needed encouragement by Paul or from Paul, then we need encouragement from you as well. So there is a true partnership that happens and that can happen. So what does that mean to you and your family? A partnership, like for example, with a church like First Baptist Cumming and other partners that you have.
Yeah. Well, I really borrowed from William Carey's holding the rope analogy, right? And like, if we're going down the hole, we need somebody to hold the rope. But I think where that kind of fails is that, from the beginning, what I told First Baptist and like we kind of wrote up 4 core values that we wanted to commit to church partners and to just regular, ordinary Christians that wanted to give. And one of those is that, I feel like a lot of times it can feel a very one-way relationship, like you said, like we're just takers. And I don't want to be a taker. I want to be a giver as well.
Yeah.
And so, what we want to do is we want to add value to allowing a church, they're helping a church to live on mission. Yeah. Whether that's through a podcast, through prayer, through having short-term teams come. Yeah. And so, we want to commit to pray for you, just like we would want you to commit to pray for us. Yeah. And we want to celebrate the victories, what's going on in Cumming or wherever our church partners are. And potentially what we want to do is we don't want it to be just one way of you sending teams to us. We want to send teams to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we are a people separated by a common language, aren't we?
That's right.
We just had some students come back from Valdosta, Georgia, and I debriefed them yesterday, and they were just talking about how for somebody that looks like me, the cultures are so vastly different. And I love that. And that's something that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so,
it's a discipleship tool for us and for you all as we send people your way or you send people our way. And we're discipling each other in that way. But I love that. When I was there last year, interacting with the students, hearing some testimonies of how God is working in their lives and God is using them, I left there strengthened in my faith. And man, it was worth it just to spend a night, there in Bristol. So I can't wait to go back sometime soon. For those of us, which hopefully that's all of us, who want to be used by God to change the cities in which we live, what are a few words of encouragement that you would want to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I go back to regularly is Jeremiah 27:9. Like, whereas everybody, Jeremiah 20, not 20, 29:7. Jeremiah 29:11 is like everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
But then just before that, where God tells the exiles that to be for their city and to pray for the city, because for in its well-being, you will find your well-being.
Yeah.
And so I would say wherever you are, to be for your city, to be praying for your city, to be a vital part of your city. Like I served before we moved over here, I served on the HOA to try to make my community better. And like, so get involved on even just a microscopic level. Because one of the things that we talked about this year in Christian Union was Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16, about being salt and light so that people might see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And essentially, like, we're not doing that to kind of showboat or showcase, but we are doing that as a representation of Christ's ambassadors. And so people will see your good works. And so I think you want to be all in for your city. You also want to celebrate people. I mean, I recently heard that a really good evangelist is somebody that listens at least 50% of the time. Like oftentimes, one thing I emphasize with my students is we oftentimes see evangelism as a monologue. Well, it's not that, it's a conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's a conversation over an extended period of time, right?
Yeah.
And you're reciprocating love. And so being a good listener, asking good questions. And in his book, Honest Evangelism, Rico Tice says what you want to do is you want to celebrate people for who God has made them to be, but you have to, at some point, preach the gospel to them, approach the pain line, he calls it. And so oftentimes, especially here in England, they're not going to accept right away. And you might get a mixed bag of responses, and it might hurt. But instead of shaking the dust off your feet, because that's not your authority to do that, you then come around and you just start celebrating them again. And you keep praying for them and showing them love. And then you look for opportunities to approach the pain line again. So be all in for your city, pray for your city, ask tons of questions, celebrate people, approach the pain line.
That's great. That's great. And you're doing that in Bristol, and really grateful for you, your family.
Yeah, thank you.
The partnership in the gospel. I've reminded of Mark 10:27. Jesus says all things are possible with God, and I read recently where John Piper was talking about this verse, and he says that in front the words give hope. In other words, all things are possible. That's hopeful language there. And then he said behind they give humility, because they're not possible with us. They're possible with God. And so he says they're the antidote to despair and the antidote to pride, the perfect missionary medicine. And so I cling to those words by Jesus. I'm reminded of that perfect missionary medicine. And I'm really grateful for the example that you're setting. And again, thanks for coming all the way from Bristol over here to London today. I know we had the chance to prayer walk this area and looking for and praying for new churches to be planted in this area. And we're going to be praying for Bristol as well. So
appreciate that.
So there's another episode of the Change Your City podcast. Thank you for listening or watching. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks.